When you think of Vikings, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Huge longships crashing onto a beach, horned helmets, and warriors storming a monastery, right? The raid on Lindisfarne in 793 is etched in history as the dramatic start of the Viking Age. But what if I told you that was just the big flashy premiere? The real story of Viking expansion began much earlier, not with a roar, but with a whisper. Long before the world knew their name, seafarers from Scandinavia were already testing the waters. These weren't the massive invasion fleets of later sagas. Imagine just one or two ships, sleek and fast, crewed by maybe 30 to 50 men. They would slip out of the misty fjords of Norway or the hidden coves of Denmark, their destinations shrouded in uncertainty. Their goal wasn't to conquer kingdoms or burn monasteries to the ground, not yet. Their primary motives were far more practical: reconnaissance and resources. Think of them as maritime explorers with an edge. They were mapping the world, one coastline at a time. Where are the currents weakest? Where can we find fresh water? Are these shores defended? Who lives here? And what do they have? These early voyages were high-risk, high-reward ventures. The North Sea is a formidable beast, and their open-decked ships, though brilliantly designed, offered little protection from its fury. A single storm could swallow a crew whole, leaving no trace. But the potential rewards were too tempting to ignore. Their first targets were likely isolated coastal communities, small farmsteads, and fishing villages. Places that were undefended and unprepared. The raiders would appear suddenly, seemingly from nowhere. They weren't there for a prolonged battle. This was about speed and efficiency. They'd hit the beach, grab whatever they could: livestock, tools, food, perhaps some metalwork, and then vanish back into the sea before any organized defense could be mounted. We call them raids, but in some cases, opportunistic trade might be a better description. Picture this: a longship lands on a quiet beach. The locals, understandably terrified, see these strange armed men. The Vikings might not immediately draw their swords. They might instead display furs, amber or walrus ivory. A tense negotiation could follow. Sometimes it ended in peaceful exchange. Other times, if the locals hesitated or the Vikings sensed weakness, it would end in violence. It was a fluid situation, dictated by opportunity. These early raiders were incredibly skilled navigators. Without compasses, they relied on the sun, the stars, the flight patterns of birds, and the subtle colors of the water. They developed a deep, intuitive knowledge of the sea. They learned to read the coastline like a map, identifying safe harbors and potential ambush points. Each successful trip brought back not just loot, but priceless information. This information was the real treasure. Returning crews would share their knowledge. Across the water, 2 days sail west, there's an island with fat sheep and no warriors. Or, follow the coast south and you'll find a river mouth leading to a settlement rich in iron. This collective intelligence slowly built a mental map of the British Isles and the Frankish coast. They were creating a database of vulnerability. Archaeological evidence supports this picture of small-scale early contact. Stray Scandinavian artifacts, like brooches or weapons, found in coastal English settlements and dated before 793, hint at these initial encounters. They aren't signs of a full-blown invasion, but whispers of contact, trade, and probably low-level conflict. So why did it escalate? Several factors were at play. Back in Scandinavia, political power was consolidating. Local chieftains needed wealth to reward their followers and cement their authority. Raiding was a direct path to prestige and riches. At the same time, shipbuilding technology was improving. Ships became larger, more seaworthy, and capable of carrying more warriors over longer distances. The information gathered during those early quiet decades was the crucial final piece. They knew where to go. They knew what to expect. They knew where the wealth was concentrated and poorly defended. The rich, isolated monasteries scattered along the coasts of Britain and Ireland were like giant, glowing targets on their newly drawn maps. They were treasure houses filled with gold, silver, and precious manuscripts, all protected by unarmed monks. Lindisfarne wasn't a random act of savagery. It was a calculated, strategic strike, the culmination of decades of reconnaissance. It was the moment the Vikings decided to stop whispering and start shouting. The early, small-scale raids were the dress rehearsal. They were the scouting missions that paved the way for the main event. They taught the Vikings how to cross the sea, how to fight on foreign shores, and where the greatest prizes lay. So, the next time you picture the start of the Viking Age, don't just think of the fire and fury at Lindisfarne. Remember the quiet, shadowy longships that came before, slipping along the coastlines, testing, probing, and learning. It was in those silent voyages, across the grey waves of the North Sea, that the true foundations of the Viking Age were laid. They weren't just pirates. They were pioneers, and their explorations would change the course of European history forever. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden histories behind the sagas, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the past. See you next time.